Rabbi, cantor, members of the congregation, I'm an unlikely candidate to discuss religion. However, today's Parsha is not only of particular significance to me, it speaks directly to my passions and my way of being in the world. My family originates in Lithuania, yet another country with a history of persecution of Jews. In today's Parsha, we hear the famous words, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. We teach this to our children, and we know it as adults. Yet clearly, 70 years after the Holocaust, justice has not been served. So then, is justice a priority? Tomorrow, August 22nd, is a sad day in the history of our people. Here is a story few know. On August 22, 1941, 74 years ago tomorrow, a Lithuanian named Jonas Norieka signed orders to send the Jews of the Lithuanian Šiauliai region into ghettos. Several hundred Jews were immediately murdered. The remaining Jews were then concentrated in ghettos, only to be murdered later. My relatives were amongst them. One would think that 74 years later, truth has been told and justice served. If so, you would be wrong. Norieka was appointed as head of the Šiauliai district by the legitimate and legally constituted pro-Nazi provisional government of Lithuania on August 3, 1941. Present-day Lithuania has confirmed the legitimacy of that government. Norieka's participation in the Holocaust is not new. The details have already been known for years. The Center for the Study of the Genocide and Resistance of Lithuania, a Lithuanian government agency, has verified Norieka's signature on orders to ghettoize our Jewish families and to plunder Jewish assets. Despite substantial efforts to negate his responsibility for additional atrocities of which he's accused, the Genocide Center has not denied eyewitness reports that implicate Norieka in mass murder. In 1997, Lithuanian President Brazauskas posthumously awarded Norieka the Grand Cross of the Order of the Cross of Vytis, which is the second highest honor that can be bestowed by the Lithuanian government. An inscription for Norieka has been carved on the exterior wall of Lithuania's Genocide Museum. A commemorative plaque for Norieka has been installed on a library building in the capital city, and a school has been named to honor Norieka inside Lithuania. A mass murderer of our people has been transformed by the Lithuanian government into a national hero. Is that justice? My friends, Norieka is not the only one. There are other perpetrators who have been transformed into national heroes by Lithuania. Names not everybody will recognize, but names which I'll share with you now. Brazaitis, Skirpa, Krikstaponis, Baltusas, Raila. The list is lengthy, but it is not conclusive. When the Torah implores us, justice, justice shall you pursue, we are called upon to act. Justice is not always immediate, but we are people with long memories, and justice will be served. It cannot be that these monuments and honors are allowed to stand. It cannot be. It is not only the honoring of perpetrators, but the continued insult to their victims. It's an insult to survivors. It's an insult to all civilized people. It is an insult to decent Lithuanians to be part of a society that venerates murderers. Not only must Lithuania take down these monuments, those that are aware of what the monuments represent should answer to the civilized world why they were installed in the first place. Some of the perpetrators with monuments have been exposed. How in good conscience can a nation then allow those monuments to remain standing? Given that the government knows about the veneration of perpetrators, the fact that the government has maintained these honors can only mean that these values are values they uphold and wish to perpetuate. What else can be interpreted from their maintenance? What else? Does Lithuania not have legitimate heroes they wish to honor? Think of the values being taught to the youth in a school named for a mass murderer. Can tolerance and human dignity possibly be taught in that environment? This conveys a strong message about Lithuanians to the rest of the world, and that is actually not who today's Lithuanian youth are. Lithuanian youth today are by and large fine people. They should be asking their leaders, why has this been done in our name? Were I a young Lithuanian today, I would be outraged, and I would personally like to be optimistic and hope that the youth of Lithuania will be vocal in their protest. There is no deniability for Lithuanian leadership in this matter. I know that personally because I have been agitating for many years to have these honors removed. In the interim, tomorrow, we will remember the Jews who were betrayed and enthusiastically murdered by their fellow Lithuanian citizens. Prior to the Holocaust, European Jews had the sacred task of caring for the memory and the graves of their ancestors. However, that task fell to those we now refer to as Holocaust victims. So you see, Jews who died before the war and were buried in Lithuania are now buried in what appeared to be garbage dumps. Holocaust victims have no burial grounds. We all bury our deceased families in places of honor. We install markers and memorials, and we make certain those cemeteries are tended to. The Holocaust victims would have been the ones to tend to the cemeteries in Europe, but with their annihilation, it is now our responsibility. During, and indeed after the Shoah, it was common practice for Lithuanians to dig up Jewish graveyards. They were looking for gold teeth or jewelry on rich Jewish skeletons. They often took the gravestones for use as building materials and turned our cemeteries into nothing more than garbage dumps. Those who died before the Holocaust must not be forgotten. Their memory is now our responsibility. An organization in Lithuania named Maseva has taken on the task of performing the highest order of tzedakah by caring for the graves of the abandoned. Tzedakah is often translated as charity, but it comes from the word tzedek, which is justice or righteousness. Maseva performs a mitzvah of tzedakah, of pursuing justice, of correcting an injustice. We are commanded, justice, justice shall you pursue, by unearthing toppled gravestones, cleaning, photographing, and by preserving the data of our families, we fulfill the sacred commandment. Tonight, when we say our concluding Kaddish, I ask each and every one of you to think of our relatives who no longer have graves, and to think of those relatives who were so brutally murdered on this anniversary, and those are the victims of the Lithuanian national hero, Norieka. Do not think of the victims as hundreds and thousands of undifferentiated Jews concentrated together and being butchered in an orgy of murder. Think of them as individuals, each one with his or her own aspirations and dreams. Think of our elderly, who deserve the right to die between two clean white sheets, with a loved one holding their hands. Think of young mothers clutching their children, many with babies still in diapers. Think of teenagers such as my son Bryce, who attended school and played games with their friends. Think of parents, think of doctors, think of teachers, think of firemen, garbage collectors, civic leaders, each victim an individual no different than ourselves, and no less deserving of love, human dignity, respect, and memory. You all know about the Holocaust victims. Let us keep fresh the horrors of glorifying a murderer such as Norieka. We each have an individual responsibility to honor our dead and to remain vigilant in preserving the authentic memory of the Holocaust. Friends, these are two parallel ideas. One, let us restore the graves of those who died before the Holocaust. And two, let the world know that we have not forgotten our Holocaust victims and that we will not allow the perpetrators to be glorified. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. It is not up to somebody else. It is up to all of us. Come join us. Shabbat Shalom.